All right. So the next part of this meeting is really to provide an overview of the application process for properties that are unable to meet the recycling requirements that are in Ordinance 2899. Again, the properties that would potentially be approved for a waiver must face extreme space constraints or excessive costs to address those space constraints. Again, whether you need to build your screening, whether you need to expand your screening, we are going to do our best to help you with those costs in ways that I've expressed. If you're sharing recycling service with another business, again, that's totally okay. We just need to get proof of that. Or if you make use of an alternative recycling option, such as you take it somewhere else. So as I said earlier, not to reiterate over again, making sure you have this information together before you sit down to upload those submittals is going to really be a useful thing to do. We kind of went over all these. You have proof of collection and service. So that's including who the hauler is and the level of service that you have. That's what's going to help you with the math of figuring out how we can get there. Again, potentially without the use of a waiver at all first. But if we need to do it, then what are we working towards is what this will tell us. Photos, that's photos of your dumpster enclosure, photos of the dumpsters or the carts. And again, pictures can say a lot of things that can help express what's going on. A description of the issue, and there's a place for that in the application. And then your specific request. And we're gonna look at all of this. So if you don't have an account on the CityView portal, and the CityView portal is available in the planning department's portion of the web page. Again, if you go to that recycling website, where we have the application process, we have directly linked to these places. So you're not going to have to look around too much. If you just go to that site, you're going to find everything you need. And again, Darby and I are available for support and help on that. You would sign in, scroll, find the right application, which in this one, it's going to be that recycling waiver, because there's a list of different types of applications. You create a name for that application and add any comments and continue. This is what shows up after you select that recycling waiver and you go to the next page. And then you just check that box. It's going to ask you for the property address. And you just want to confirm the contact information. And then this is where you would upload those submittals. This is what that page looks like. And again, we have a direct connection from the recycling site to this. So the request form is for the recycling waiver. It's a fillable PDF. So once you will have downloaded this already, hopefully, this is what information it's going to ask for. Again, property owner name, address, parcel. At the bottom of that first page there, what is your current refuse services? Who's the hauler? How much they have? How much you're getting? So it's the size of the cart or container and the number of times it's serviced per week, because those together create the math, the beginning of the math problem. And then you would select one or more of the three options that are really there for requesting that waiver. The first one is I share services. So an example of that would be like maybe you have a property downtown and you don't have room for any dumpsters behind your property, and you've worked out a deal with your neighbor or someone down in the block that you can use their dumpsters for trash and recycling. That's totally appropriate. What we would want then is just proof of that, maybe a letter of engagement between the two of you, and how you've come to that agreement, and then that satisfies that need. Or as we said, if you have an alternative recycling option. Again, we want to make sure that the choice if you're choosing either one of these, that you're still meeting that 50% capacity. So if you're sharing with someone, we want to know like, okay, how much do you get to contribute here? What is your average bags that you're taking maybe of trash and recycling? And so that we can make sure that we're kind of keeping in that 50% so that you're meeting that requirement. If I use a recycling alternative, maybe you take your materials to a drop-off center, Waste Management or Twin, or maybe you have another property that you have business, where you have business and you take your materials there. I've heard that as well. We just need to see proof of that. And those would likely be approved. The third, and just a reminder that at the bottom of each of these sections where it looks like this is kind of all together, there's actually the first one, and then there's a big place below it, a blank for you to fill in the description of what you do. And then the third one is the extreme space constraints. And there's 4 bullets here. It's a lot of text for you to see. But when you're going through it online, it'll be easier, which is again, why we really encourage you, go there, download it, look at it, so that you can think through what it is you need to do before you dive into the uploading to the portal. So an example of these might be that you currently have a trash dumpster and you don't have any screening on your property. And in your opinion, you don't have any room to add recycling. And so you would just need to prove that. And the way you would do that is demonstrate there's just absolutely no space to put it. And so then the waiver would be negotiated through that process. You wouldn't need the recycling modification plan, because what you have proven is that I don't have an enclosure, but I don't have room to put an enclosure. So this is one of those where you're trying to waive the requirement of having the recycling. The second one, maybe the property has a trash dumpster, does not have screening around it, but adding recycling means that you're going to now need to build that screening structure. And the cost to do that is excessive. And so you will, at that point, would be applying for potentially, if you're not going to be able to meet this requirement by July 31st, you would be applying for a waiver to extend your compliance timeline. And in addition to that, you might want to apply for the recycling modification plan so that you can take advantage of the opportunities for the plans and the administrative process and the help with that. Another might be an example of that there's a trash dumpster within a screening structure and there's no room to add. So either you don't have screening or you do have screening. Again, it's all the same. You might need the waiver to extend your timeline. And then we have this recycling modification plan coming available in June that'll help you save some money on the process of getting those built or expanded. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, if you have trash in a screening structure on your property and your room to add recycling it's not even there. And I've seen a couple of situations that are pretty tight, and there's structurally not a way for them to add 50% recycling to it. So what we can do is look at the potential of modifying that requirement of 50% capacity to maybe 30 or 25. It just really depends. I would encourage everybody to think outside the box of, I have this dumpster now, and to add recycling means this stays the same, and I add another thing, another container or multiple containers. It doesn't have to be like that. You can reduce, and I would encourage you to reduce the current trash that you have, because once you start pulling the recyclables out, you're not going to need that same trash capacity. I would ask you to consider that in part of in your calculations as you're thinking about, how to shift and add the recycling. We've seen it working. I've actually had several customers around here that have actually done that. They had a 6-yard dumpster service once a week. They knocked it down to a 4-yard, added some carts for recycling, and it fits within the screening they have, and they're able to come into compliance just by doing that. So it's been working. So happy to help, again, like I said, with however we can talk through that process. This is what that property owner form looks like. Again, this is available on the website as well. So it's proof of ownership, if you have received a recycling waiver request form, you'll want to have that handy. Proof of collection, just like the other, and then photographs. So those are all the submittals. And then as we talked earlier, if you're, well, this is just for the property owner one. The recycling modification plan will have those other potentially more submittals. But this is what it looks like to have space constraints. So this one looks pretty extreme. I don't know that you could fit very many carts in there if you're looking at that photo. So this one might need some expanding. Or again, you shrink the dumpster a little bit, it has some effect. Sometimes it's not sufficient to do that. And again, if you're encroaching on other CDC requirements, the Community Development Code requirements, like parking or snow storage, again, that's what that recycling modification plan will help with. Photos, you're going to have an opportunity on that application to upload the reasoning for the request. And maybe what that area could be used for is to explain what your photos are showing. And that would help us to understand what you're really looking for. And then you just want to review everything and make sure it looks complete. You'd hit submit. The next screen is going to be the opportunity for you to make the payment for the application. And if you want to hang on to that project number so that you can use that for a reference, if you want to check the status. And you can actually go back and check the status yourself through the portal. So the next steps on our side is to look at everything, review, make sure that all the submittals are there, that they're understandable, that pictures are visible and we can understand what's communicated. And then we would reach out if anything was missing from that point. And the waiver is going to be my review. And like I said, it's very possible it's going to require a site visit. And so I'll be in communication about that. And then again, the recycling modification plan will be live June 15 of this year. And, sometimes it'll follow the decision of a waiver. Sometimes it won't need a waiver. It will require a pre-submittal meeting, and that'll be time spent with Darby. Yep. And she's a planning technician for the city, so she's happy to help. And that would be done either in person. You could do it virtually, on the phone. However, it depends on the complexity of the project. And again, that modification plan opportunity is limited. So it's a 2-year application opportunity to get your screening up to date. And like I said, we will be having some plans drawn, lesser fee. It's an administrative process. So it's a good time to get that taken care of. Again, our contact info. Darby and I are both pretty up to speed on this, so we're happy to help. And that's the end of that. I will take questions. Anybody got any questions in here? In the room? No? Oh, here we go. Mr. Taylor.
Hi. Knowing your extensive background in the trash business, you're aware of 6-yard vertical compactors. If we have a restaurant that was going through a 6-yarder 4 times a week and we put them into a Vertipack and now they're only going 2 times a week, will their recycle be based on their current usage? Like a 6-yarder 2 times a week? Because they don't have room for another dumpster on this location I'm talking about. But instead of 50%, if I work with them and they go on the website and they take pictures and everything, is there a possibility instead of 50%, like you said, their percentage could drop?
It's a potential, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no room, there's no room. So
Okay.
we would work through that, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Who else?
Looks like we have a question online.
Somebody raising their hand?
Oh, I don't see any hands raised here.
Anybody online have any questions?
Nope, I'm still not seeing anything online.
Bob?
Presentation, no
Thank you.
questions. So nice job.
All right, I am available. Darby's available. Please utilize our services, our help. And I will close the online portion here. That completes the training. Thank you for your time. And please reach out. That's what I'm here for.